What is up, guys? My name is Haley. Welcome back to my channel, and here I give you insights and advice and tell you about my experience both at film school and in the film industry as it kind of happens to me. So today I wanted to talk about theater versus film acting and what my experience has been like with both of those. So what are the differences? Good question. And which one do I like more? I will get to that soon. So let's talk about theater and why I fucking love it and what are some of the downsides of theater. What I love about theater is that you are almost always going to have good material because theater has just a very high standard. You know, if you're gonna be on like Broadway, the play and the story has to be so good. But not only that, there's so many classics. You know, you can always do a Shakespeare show, which is the best writing in history in my super humble opinion. In theater, you get a rehearsal process, which every theater is different. Some have 2 weeks, some have, like when I got to play Lady Macbeth, we rehearsed for 9 months beforehand, which was insanely awesome. Some people could be like,
well, wouldn't you get so bored of doing the same show for that long?
No, I wish I had that long for every role that I had, because you get to dive so deep into that character and study them and just really work on becoming them. It was beautiful, and I'm super interested in doing professional theater because of that, because if you could be in a show that runs for 3 or 6 months or even a year, I would love that. So for me, I love the longevity of rehearsing and then also performing a lot of times. You get to just learn more every day. And every show I've ever been in, the cast slowly becomes a family, and it's beautiful, and you're all there together. We all support each other. We have like our pre-performance rituals where we do some warm-ups and play some games. Obviously, the scary part and probably the downside for a lot of people is the audience. However, for me, that's one of the plus sides. I love the give and take of having an audience there with any sort of genre. You know, you immediately think like comedy is the best for give and take because you hear the laughter of the audience, which is wonderful. And having the payoff of laughter when you've rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and you're like, okay, is this funny? Like, we don't actually know, like maybe we think it's funny, maybe it's not funny, and then the audience comes and they laugh. It is just one of the best payoffs. It's a fantastic feeling. And on the opposite, when you do something really emotional or terrifying, you know, I've been in The Crucible twice, Macbeth, I've been in a lot of tragedies, and just feeling the tension in the room and the audience on the edge of their seat, that feeling is great too. I don't know what it is, but knowing that you're giving the audience an emotional experience is so wonderful. Whereas film, most of the time, you're not going to be in the audience experiencing watching it with them, which you get to do as you perform on stage. So that energy is something that I really love. Another hard thing, but I also find kind of a beautiful thing, is that theater is so raw in that anything could happen. You know, someone could drop their line, someone could slip during choreography, like anything bad could happen or anything good. Say you try something new on a night and you love it and it has a wonderful payoff. There's so much room to grow and to experiment and to learn new things in theater, which I really, really adore. So film. Why I love film is because you can manipulate film so much and you can cut around things, you can cut the tempo, you can control music and sound more, I think. You really get to control what the audience is seeing and experiencing, you know? On stage you can't have a close-up of an object or a hand or you know, like their hands brushing or anything like that. You can't hone in on those little details that you get to show in film. So as a storyteller, I really love film because I can control exactly what the audience is focusing on at all times in order to tell my story how I want it to be told. So I really like that, especially because I do a lot of action and stunts and fight scenes. And while stage fighting can be so cool, not saying that it's not, there's a certain flow to film fights that give you such an advantage. Because again, you're telling the audience what to focus on. Things like a knife slash can be a lot more effective on film because you have a sound effect there and you can see how close it came to their throat, or little details like that that you just don't get to show on stage that I really appreciate. Not only that, but you can hide things and do other takes that you can't do on stage. So on stage, if somebody gets stabbed, they have to have like a blood pack in their hand or in their costume somewhere that bursts, or else you just don't have a blood effect, right? So that's like a whole planned out thing that's more difficult to do on stage. Again, not necessarily bad. I love stage fighting, but you can manipulate a lot more with film, because not only could you CGI the blood, but you can do takes with blood and takes without blood. Acting in film is hard. I think acting in film is a lot harder than it is in theater, and I think that's because I was trained in theater. So I was trained to tell a story from point A to point B, memorize all of that, and be able to execute all of it in order. One of the hardest things for me about film is that you rarely ever get to shoot anything in the order that it's being told. Usually films will be shot depending on the location. So if you have scene 1, 7, and 10 in this house, you're gonna shoot scenes 1, 7, and 10 in the same day. So you have to be able to mentally jump through your character's different emotional states throughout the story at all times. Sometimes the first day of shooting, you're shooting the last scene of the film. I actually find myself being much more confident with a big audience than the little audience of a set. I remember one of my mentors and best friends telling me he couldn't do film acting because it's too intimate, and I didn't understand what that meant until I did it. There's like a weird nervousness to performing for 1 or 2 people as opposed to 1 or 200 people. I don't know why. It's just a very, very intimate thing, so it makes it a lot harder for some reason. And every little thing you do is being recorded and is going to be broadcasted on like a giant screen. So that's a little bit intimidating and a little scary. Everybody's all up in your face and in your space, and it's weird. It's weird. They're going to call cut and they're going to call action, and makeup team is gonna run in and fix you up, or costume department's gonna come and fix your collar or your hair, whatever it is, all the time. So there's people in your space all the time, and it's very, very difficult for me to stay in any sort of emotional state in between takes when that kind of maintenance is happening, which I love and respect, and it improves the film truly. So I'm so happy that they're there to do that. I have found I have been very disappointed in a lot of my film performances during really like emotional scenes, because I feel like I just couldn't get there like I would be able to get there on stage, because stage is just such a through line, whereas film, it's like, okay, lights and action, and you have to be there. Like, you have to be ready to go. You just have to start. And that's like a crazy thing. I'm always so proud when I can get there that fast. I also take a lot of comfort in the fact that I watch so many interviews with professional actors who feel the same way. Like, they feel sort of gypped by how films have to be made in such a fast-paced way. What's really nice about film, though, is that you can do another take. Depending on your director, I, as a director, tend to take 3 or 4 takes, 10 at the absolute most. Some directors take 50 to 100 takes. It's nice because you get to try new things. If you screw up, you can go back to one, start over. Sometimes I want to just do a scene over and over and over and over until I've exhausted it and I know that I've done everything I can do. Some scenes I want to do once and never want to do it again. It really just kind of depends on the material, the content, who my scene partner is, all of that. Stunts, fight scenes, I'll do that all day. I will do that all day. I will do it through nighttime into the next day. I will do as many takes of that as I need to. It's exhausting and brutal, and I get beat to hell, and I fucking love it. Emotional scenes where I have to cry, 1, 2, 3 takes and I'm ready to be done. The other big difference is that theater, you have to act in such a way that the person in the very back row can see and hear you. So it kind of gets that stereotype of being very big, and you have to make big facial expressions, and obviously you have to be loud or you have to be mic'd so that everybody can hear you, right? So that's a very specific type of acting that you usually need to be trained in, because it doesn't really come naturally to a lot of people to be big and open and loud. Film acting is the complete opposite, and I praise actors who can switch back and forth at ease, like Tom Hiddleston. Look into him if you don't know his work. He goes back and forth between movie and stage all the time. I think it's beautiful, and it's something that I'm definitely working toward. film, again, the camera is so in your space and in your face all the time that every little detail can be in the film depending on how it's shot. If it's like lots of wide shots, then it's more like stage acting. If it inserts and close-up shots, you know, like the tiniest lip movement, the tiniest eye twitch is going to be caught on camera, and so you don't have to act as much. You don't have to overact in any capacity. And I find a lot of the best film acting is kind of underacting. Some people are amazing at doing both, and some people just prefer one or the other. Film is definitely what we would call more realistic acting. That's not to say that stage isn't realistic acting, it's just realistic on a heightened level, that's all. I don't know if I have a preference between stage or film. I get asked it all the time, and they're so both beautiful in different ways. As a director, I've never directed a stage play, so I can't compare that experience, but as a director, I love the medium of film. I love being able to control it and manipulate it and edit and really have the process of telling the whole story. But as an actor, I love stage in being able to tell the whole story all the way through, experiencing it with the audience. But I also love being able to cut around my bad performance and seeing the final product that makes me look like a badass. So I don't know. I honestly can't answer it. I know I like led into that as if I had an answer. I don't have an answer. They're both wonderful for different reasons, and I really hope that I just keep getting to do both of them. Please let me know in the comments below what your experience has been with film versus stage. Which one do you love? Which one do you prefer? If you have a preference, or if you love them both, maybe you hate them both. Either way, let me know in the comments below why and what your experience has been. If you found this video helpful or entertaining in any way, please hit the like button, hit that subscribe button as well, because I want to come at you with more videos, and I want to give you as much advice, insight, and knowledge as I can about film school and the film industry as I am experiencing it. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Have a beautiful day.